Hattie and I am back with another speed build. So today I'm going to be doing another Greek styled house, which is going to be for my friend Kaleidow. She's doing a new series on her channel, which is going to be revisiting an old series that she did called Oh My Goddess, and she asked me to build some houses for it. So this is going to be one of the houses that is hopefully going to be in it, maybe in the background of the series though, I'm not too sure. But I did a 40 by 30, which is a bigger version of this home, so this is going to be a little bit different. So if you haven't visited Kaleidow's channel yet, then I'm going to leave the links in the description below so you can go and watch all her videos. I am really excited for this new series that she's going to be doing because I think it's going to be amazing and I really enjoy her Sims series, so I am really looking forward to it. But anyway, so this build, I tried to make a little bit more Greek than the last one I did because I felt like the last one, even though it was a really nice pale home and a lot of you liked it, I thought for this one I would really include some more navy blue colours in because I thought that that was very Greek, and that was really what was reminding me of this whole Greece look. But I did want to include a front garden at the front of the build, mainly because when I went to Greece and I saw a lot of townhouses, I think that that was something that I really loved. I saw a lot of houses in the area that I was, and they all had a really similar front garden, which was tiny, but they had some little plants out which just looked so cute. They actually have plant pots out, but we can't have plant pots in The Sims 4 unless it's those humongous ones, which I wish that we could downsize a bit so they're a bit smaller, but I couldn't put them in at the front there because I just didn't have the confidence to, and to be honest I didn't have that much room anyway, so I was quite happy with not doing that. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was sorting out the roofing. I decided on having a castle bit because I really love the idea of having a really big, beautiful fairy tale castle bit at the front there. It's something that I've always wanted to do in my builds, and I think that the castle bit alone looks really nice, and I was contemplating having this build being very castle themed and having a lot of those places in it. But I just put one there, and I also put one castle bit around the back, which you will see eventually. Then I was onto the pillars. The pillars are those humongous thick ones that I absolutely love. I think that they are the best pillars that we've got in The Sims 4 so far. They are from the new stuff pack that we got. I just think they're really good. And they pretty much go with everything. I always use them, and it's something that I like to use on my builds. And I think for a build like this as well, I wanted it to look really ancient and old, so I think they were really perfect for what I wanted, so I was happy with using them. Went around the back and I put a little balcony area, not big enough to do anything on. It was mainly just so that the Sims could exit the property and maybe have an amazing romantic moment there. I don't know, but I think that that would look really nice. And I also think for the Let's Play, if this build is used, then the Sims could be off the balcony at the back and it could just look so cute. So I thought that that would be a really lovely thing to put in, and I did that. I was also trying to sort out the front door and the front window. I was very unhappy with my choosing, so I did actually get rid of a lot of this stuff. In fact, everything you see now in terms of the windows and the doors, it doesn't stay by the end, and it's so strange because I was not too unhappy with it at this point. I was thinking to myself, it's coming together, it's getting there. I mean, it's not perfect, but nothing is until the landscaping's on. But honestly, I think it looks a lot better by the end, so you'll see that. But I was also sorting out the roofing. The roofing was very difficult to do, and a lot of people do ask me how I do the roofing like this. I am going to do a separate tutorial at some point so that you can see how I do it, because I think a lot of you are interested in that. I get a lot of notifications and stuff, people saying like, can you do a roofing tutorial? So I will do that at some point. But it's very difficult to do roofing like this on a 30 by 20. It's so hard and tricky. It was such a challenge, but I really enjoyed doing this build because I don't usually build on 30 by 20s as well. 40 by 30s are my scene. I'm not even kidding. I love 40 by 30s, and they are so much bigger than this plot as well, and it just makes the world of difference because on a plot like this, sometimes I can struggle with wanting to put so much detail in a tiny area. Whereas on a 40 by 30, you can go a bit crazy and you can do all sorts of details and stuff and just unique things. But this was really tricky. But I enjoyed it. I think it was different and I was happy with how it turned out in the end. I did put that humongous window there, mainly because I thought back to when I did Ivory's girly home, and I really liked that build. In fact, it's been one of my favourite builds that I've done for a while, and I really adored how the big window was at the front. I don't know what it was. I think for me, I was trying to use old things that I used on my other builds, which I just really liked. And I like that as well. I like sometimes doing that, not for every single build, but sometimes when I repeat things, I think it looks pretty good. So I was happy with that. And I was going around the bottom here, putting in some stonery. And I was putting in a little chimney here. I love those chimneys. Unfortunately, it wasn't the exact colour that I wanted because it's not white. I wish it was. I wish we could have a colour wheel. I say that in every single one of my videos. But oh my goodness, I miss it so much. I really do. And it's just little things like that, which I just really wish that I could have just changed it from white to cream. Well, actually cream to white. And it could have just been so easy. But I think it looks really nice either way. And I was happy with the outcome of that. So here what I was doing is I was trying to create a little area where the family could maybe sit down and they could have a table of 2 out here or a chess table. So you'll see that. Those doors do look a little bit French and I think that maybe they are a little bit too French for this build, but I think that's still nice and it's actually very European. In fact, when I went to Greece, because I only went to Greece for a day, I said this last time, I did. I went there for a whole day and it was because it was on a cruise and I couldn't stop around for long. What I did see though is there were a lot of Grecian people out in the mornings. I think that's the plural of Greece. I'm not too sure though. And they were out in the mornings. They were out there at breakfast time drinking champagne and it was just the most amazing thing to see. Of course, not everyone will do it there, but for me, I just think that was one of the things that I remembered and I didn't understand it at the time, of course, because I was probably only about 12, I think, when I went on the cruise, but still I had a lot of fun and it was just a really amazing thing to look at. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was trying to incorporate some ivy here. I thought about the blue colour, but I didn't want to include too much blue because I really wanted to make it a little bit multicolored. So you will see that eventually, but I did try to keep a lot of the items blue because of course I did want to stick with the whole Greece style of the build and I did want to make it look like it was from Greece, of course, not from anywhere else. This was the country that I was really trying to copy in terms of architecture at this point. I was going around and I was adding some ivy. The ivy was pretty terrible, so you have to bear with me because it does look a lot better, I think maybe a little bit later on in the video. Mainly because what I was doing is I was trying to make sure that I didn't underdo it, but I think in the process I was overdoing it. I think I included so much ivy. Also, the lighting wasn't fantastic here. I think if I was building another plot, it would have looked really good, but I chose the wrong plot again. I did, and choosing the wrong plots can be a really bad mistake for some people's designs, especially if you are including ivy and a lot of detail to the front because you want the right lighting and things. It might not seem important, but for me, I do have certain plots on the build which I build on and certain plots which I avoid like the plague because I just won't even touch them because the lighting is so incredibly bad there. What I was doing though is I was still going around, I was still trying to make it work and I was adding loads and loads of white roses. I think they're roses, but I'm not too sure. I use them all the time. I think they look really pretty, so I was happy with those and I was just adding some general plants around here. I was actually having a lot of fun doing this. I've had quite a stressful week, or at least I had a stressful week last week. It was a pretty bad week for me. I had a lot of things happen and I've had a few bin troubles which have been getting me down recently, so that's why I couldn't post a video yesterday because I was really busy doing my recycling on the night, which sounds incredibly strange, but that is the genuine reason why I couldn't, because I spent so long doing it. By the end I just didn't have time to publish a video. But yeah, so what happened was I didn't realise that the area that I'm living in at the moment is incredibly strict when it comes to recycling, to the point where I think you have to have about 5 or 6 different bins, and I am quite big on recycling anyway. I don't throw plastic or glass in the same bin, but what I didn't realise is you have to separate cotton, tissues, dirty tissues have to be put in a different bin and things like that. You have to have a compost heap and you can't have a bin bag, and they can get pretty strict. So for instance, if you have a tea bag and you finish with the tea bag, apparently you have to slash the tea bag open, take out the tea, and then recycle the cotton, which has to go in a different bag. Then you have to take the paper bit off the end of the tea bag, put that somewhere else, and of course the tea goes in a completely different bag completely, which is absolutely crazy for me to get used to because of course I have recycled in the past because I do care about the environment and stuff, but for someone that has to do all that from complete scratch and not knowing that I had to do it in the first place, it meant that I had to get my week-old bag out the garbage bin and go through it because my neighbours told me that I had to do that, which is crazy, but you know, it happens. It really does happen, and I think that for me it's just something that I've got to get used to, but it did get me down the past couple of days because of course, as you can imagine, doing that much recycling all at once was just really, really strange for me to do. And of course I do, but I just wasn't used to doing that much. So yeah, a little bit of an eye-opener, but there you go. So anyway, what I was doing here is I was trying to get the landscaping all sorted. I still wasn't happy with the front bit, so I did go back to that eventually, and you'll see what I did there. I was then just putting some shrubs around the front here. As you can see, I thought that that looked really nice, and I was happy with that, mainly because I wanted this whole property to look a little bit like a secret garden itself. And I think with putting lots and lots of plants around like that, I think it gives a really amazing effect by the end. So that's what I was trying to focus a lot on. I thought that the really big long pink plants looked like foxglove, and I think that I really do like that weed. In fact, no, I know that I like that weed. It's my favourite weed, and I think that it looks fantastic. And I don't know if it's supposed to be foxglove, but it definitely looks like it, and I use it in all my builds now, mainly because I just think it's so pretty. And I wasn't sure about what flowers would be in Greece, so I was trying to improvise because I couldn't find a lot of flower arrangements. I wouldn't imagine it was that dissimilar to what is in the European area already. So I thought lots of brightly coloured plants like this would look quite nice and welcoming, I think, as well. So I was happy with that, and I was just putting some rocks around the front. I really love putting some rock flower arrangements around there. I was very careful with the garden area, mainly because I wanted the garden to look like it wasn't that covered in plants. I wanted a lot of stone areas because I know that Greek properties are quite into that. And I think for the whole ancient look, I did want to put a lot of stone on the floor anyway, because I really like that for a build, and I think for a Greek build it would just go really well together. What I was doing though is I was making up my own fence because I wanted it to be very private looking. That's why I was doing this in the first place. But I also wanted to include something very different and very unique to what I've done before. So what I did was I placed down the fence like that, and then I started to change the colours on the outside of it, which kind of look a little bit odd. But I think as well, it looks very different to what I've done, and I was trying to mix it up a bit, because whereas some people won't like every single thing I put into a build, maybe others will like some things, maybe some won't. So I think it just depends, and I think as long as I keep trying various things out, it keeps things new, and it means that I don't just have to go for the same ideas each time and it's the same generic build. They're very different builds and they have lots of different features, so I always like to try new things throughout my builds, and that's what I was really focusing on here. Then I went round and I changed a lot of the archways to the smaller versions, mainly because the larger versions wouldn't fit the smaller wall size which I had for the downstairs floor. I don't know why I had it on small, maybe because it's just such a small plot, and I think that the small looked quite nice for this build. I don't know. I did try it on medium, but I just don't think it went as well, so I was quite happy having it as quite a small looking build. It's not going to be as tall as the other builds if you have them next to each other, but it is quite quaint looking, which I like the idea of, and I think could look quite lovely in the end, so we'll see how that goes. What I was doing though is I was adding some more landscaping around the sides here. I try not to forget about the areas just round the back, just the areas that aren't really going to be seen, but still I like having a little bit of ivy there and making it look quite good like that, because it is very easy to forget those things. But what I was doing here is I was changing the colour of the front doorway. I think it looks good like this because it looks like a Greek house. As soon as I put that in, I think it just makes a world of difference, and I was really happy with how the overall look turned out. But that is the end of the build, so I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to show you the screenshots now.